All right. Hopefully, everybody can hear me. Uh, Welcome to another edition of It's Just Me with, of course, your host, Brent Fox, which is me. Today, we're gonna go over the Earl Spence, Bud Crawford results, and then basically, I want to touch on a few things like the lack of etiquette with the mainstream media and the direction that, only in my opinion, I believe that both fighters should actually take. So, kind of getting into that, I'll go ahead and just break the fight down the way that I saw it. Of course, um, with Earl Spence seemingly winning the first round. It seemed encouraging. There was a lot of two-way action in that round, but of course, I was thinking that Spence had gotten a better portion of that said action, and he was doing his usual thing, which is just touching Crawford with the jab. Uh, Hitting him with straight lefts to the body and then an overhand left to the head, which pointed pretty well in that particular first round. The second round seemed to be taking almost the same pace through a majority of the round. Now, the second half of the second round, the action picked up on Crawford's side, and Crawford was able to, of course, knock Errol Spence down for the first time. Now, I did mention that there was going to be a knockdown early in that particular fight, so I really wasn't surprised about it. It was actually a flash knockdown. I do not think that at that particular point in time, Earl Spence was hurt or frazzled. I just thought that, hey, Crawford had just caught him off guard and just deposited him on the canvas. Earl seemed to be okay. He wasn't that wobbly or anything like that once he actually got up. Um, Now, rounds 3 through 9 were a completely different story. Um, Unfortunately, Earl Spence's method of attack was proved highly ineffective. Um, uh, it just seemed like for everything Earl Spence was trying to execute, Bud Crawford had an answer for it. For instance, Earl was, of course, trying to use his well-known jab to kind of get in, and then use his overhand left and also heavy shots to the body to try to affect Terence Crawford, but it was to no avail. It was really, really difficult for Earl to get a clean shot on Bud Crawford, and more importantly, when he got a clean shot on Bud Crawford, it was non-effective. It just seemed as though Bud really, really separated himself from Earl that night. And to be quite honest with you, I don't think that there was anything that Derek James could have actually suggested to try to turn the fight around. I know that there are criticisms on that particular side as far as um, the trainer not being able to have his fighter adjust to an adverse situation. I do not think that is true. I think the instructions that Derek James gave were accurate. Earl needed to take his head off the line after throwing shots. Unfortunately, he was not able to do that. Now, there was, I think, a point in time in like the third or possibly fourth round where he showed a glimpse, just a glimpse of good upper body movement. I think if maybe he had stuck with that, it'd probably be a slightly better result, but we won't know now. It and as a Spence fan, I'm not gonna lie, it was a difficult thing to watch. But on the flip side of that, it was a very masterful performance from Terence Crawford. I have to give him credit for that. He did a masterful job of having answers for everything Earl was trying to execute. He came with beautiful counters. His punches were razor sharp. They were well placed. He actually his strength, his actual natural strength, which I was referring to earlier, really took over. Um, and that's as far as even punch resistance. He was able to withstand some really heavy shots that Earl Spence threw to the body. He withstood quite a few overhand lefts that Spence had thrown to the head, and he just kept doing whatever he wanted to do. Basically, he was able to he was able to throw uppercuts. He was able to throw beautifully placed hooks. Um, and I know that the General 7-8 had already mentioned this, but an indication of Crawford's physical strength advantage that particular night was Earl did try to lean on him and impose his will like he usually does. Crawford literally took Earl Spence and shoved him back almost to the middle of the almost to the other side of the ring. Um, that to me was a very bad indication of what was to come, and unfortunately, um, it only got worse from there. One thing I will say is that Bud did actually let Spence make it in a few instances. He could have easily finished off Earl Spence, and I'm aware of that. Even as a Spence fan, I'm aware of that. He could have easily finished off Earl Spence and excuse me, and pretty much have his way with him. Now, what I will actually say is that Earl Spence, shout outs to you, my brother, for actually putting a fight together, for actually wanting to test yourself to fight against the best. And even though unfortunately it did not go the way that anyone actually planned it, and especially yourself, Derek James, and the rest of the team, take pride in knowing that your real fans appreciate you for what you've done. And, as soon as I actually see you in person here in Dallas, I'm going to give you a hero's welcome because you deserve that. You've taken tremendous chances throughout your career and have come out on top, most of them. Unfortunately, with this one, uh, Terence Crawford has proven that he is actually the very best. That being said, what I would actually get into now is just recognizing that Crawford really, really separated himself from Spence. And again, just to reiterate, uh, his reflexes were on point. The punches that he threw were stronger, sharper, um, a lot more accurate. There was just no answers that Earl Spence could actually provide for that particular onslaught. It is what it is. Um, and again, I can't reiterate it enough. I am thankful to both fighters for actually making the fight happen. I'm also thankful for the LDBC for putting the fight in motion. Now, even though the mainstream media will not ever give them the credit that they deserve, right here on my little show, It's Just Me, I'm going to recognize and acknowledge the real people that really put this together. Um, it did take Black Fight Fan back in 2018 to go up to Nebraska, uh, have discussions with Stephen Fulton, have discussions with Bomac, build a relationship from that, and then eventually get the fight going. Now that kind of sparked Bomac to actually talk trash about Earl, and then of course Earl responded on another fight card. I think It was a Danny Garcia fight in New York. I forget which one it was, but he actually responded just kind of based off of that. And then excuse me, and then the fight, was kind of in the infant stages of being built. I believe there was a Mo Hooker fight that actually took place in Oklahoma. Of course, as the story goes, Earl drove up to Oklahoma, met up with Terence Crawford, and the viral video from that, of course, started a historic rivalry. Um, I am still, as a boxing fan, very, very pleased that the fight actually happened in the first place. I am also very, very pleased that there were so many people that actually showed up and supported the fight. I myself wanted to try to encourage anyone that was capable to purchase the fight on pay per view just to support the event. Boxing needs matchups like these to keep itself sustained. And again, I'm very proud of the night, regardless of the result. Now, speaking of the particular results and then mainstream media, here's what I have to say about that. It seemed as though any mainstream media asshole that had, a snarky remark or something to say lined up and just was peppering both Derek James and Earl Spence with questions. The most notorious, of course, was Kevin Iole, fuck you, and Dan Raphael, fuck you, die slow. Okay. And, you know, I, I would not say these things from a safe space on the internet. You see my face. Okay. So you automatically know what I look like. I'm not going to run and hide from those comments. I'm not giving you a death threat, Dan Raphael. But I want you to know that I find you despicable. Um, you are a deplorable piece of shit. Okay. The way that you've actually insulted these fighters over decades, not years, decades. Okay. Decades. You've insulted these fighters. And it's clear and apparent that you cannot even come close to doing what they do. Who the fuck are you to come up and try to criticize these men that dedicate themselves every day to building themselves to become a better warrior, to entertain the general public? And then some sloppy built mayonnaise sandwich eating motherfucker like yourself has the right to come on, critique someone who's dedicated their life to their craft, and people are supposed to just accept that. Kevin Iole, you have a notorious history of misquoting people. You have a notorious history of just flat out lying. Okay. So, again, I don't even understand how people are able to trust the words that actually are printed or even come out of your fucking mouth, to be quite honest with you. Um, there was also some asshole from Fight Hub who wanted to ask, oh, well, hey, what was going on, and what do you pretty much got beat up out there and all of that shit. Okay, well, of course, of course, somebody actually has to just, I guess, ask these types of questions to kind of, because it's a journalism thing, and we need to find answers for these types of questions. And I'm not afraid to ask tough questions, and things of that nature. Listen, there is such a thing as journalistic integrity. The questions that you assholes, and it's almost all of you, the questions that you've assholes have actually asked and peppered both Derek James and Earl Spence with, it they're terrible. Okay. It's just no other way to describe it. You know what the fuck you were doing. Okay. You know that you were insulting these people that, again, have dedicated themselves to this particular craft. You know that you've insulted these people by these questions, yet you ask them anyway. Oh, no, that's just me asking tough questions. No, it's not. It's you actually being condescending. It's you actually wanting to write now a clickbait article or a scathing review on so and so's performance just so you can get attention. Okay. I, me and my small show, okay, is a passion project. I do not, at this particular point, I do not give a fuck about likes, subscriptions, or any of that. I just enjoy speaking about things that I'm passionate about. And yes, YouTube happens to be a platform to do that on. That is why I am here. I am not here to be some viral sensation. I am not here um, to, excuse me, I'm not here to try to entertain a whole bunch of people that I don't actually know. I'm here to talk about, things that I love, which is of course boxing and football. And Broker's Dad, um, I don't know where you came from. But you know, if you're gonna make comments like that, you can politely get the fuck out of here too. Um, I don't understand even why you. I don't even understand how you found this channel, why you're here, what you're here to do. I've made this public because it's a small channel. I didn't think anyone was really just gonna pay attention, but apparently, you had to you had to come here, say something like, "Oh, Broner lost money on Spence. Face says it all." What the fuck is that? Um, and for anyone else who feels like they need to come in here and make stupid ass comments and then dash out, what I'm gonna do from here on is just either not pay attention to the comment or I'm just gonna boot your ass up out of here. I'm not here for the bullshit or anything like that. Um, Honestly, I could do without you. Okay. I don't know you from a pan of paint. I don't know you from a can of paint. So, you can actually get the fuck out. Okay. Um, yeah, I don't understand even why you're here. Anyway, um, back to the mainstream media assholes. I'm sure that there are several other people in the mainstream media, and better yet, on these type of platforms, that just feel like, oh yeah, Spence has gotten exposed, and you know, the sorrow of Spence fanboys tastes so sweet, and Bud dominated your guy. How do you feel about it? And what are you gonna do now? Oh, shut down your channel. Oh, are you gonna cry in the car or some stupid shit like that? Like, it's a it's a boxing match that we actually anticipated. That was highly anticipated. Yes, I was very, very excited about the fight actually happening. But unfortunately, life has to go on. I have to go to work after this, and still earn money for my family. So, I mean, what good does it do for me to try to live vicariously through someone else that's really not connected to me? But yet, I'm still a fan of. He's from where I'm from. His principles as a man are in line with mine. And I definitely appreciate what he has actually done as far as providing big fights for the Dallas Fort Worth area. And then in those particular fights, he's actually provided jobs. Like, there are people that are parking lot attendants, there are people that work in concessions, there's security. Um, there's also event planners and people who actually do the staging for the events, things of that nature. Those are all opportunities given by these big events that are actually held in the Dallas Fort Worth area because of Earl Spence. So, again, that's another salute to him for that. I definitely, um, again, want to make sure that I appreciate and recognize the performance of Terrence Bud Crawford. Mr. Crawford, your legendary performance last night really separated yourself from your peers. And I will go ahead and say on my small show that you are actually the best in your era. Um, it was a beautiful thing to watch you operate. Unfortunately, it was at my guy's expense. The way that you were able to systematically pick him apart and make the whole thing, unfortunately, look almost effortless, um, says a lot about your abilities and also, more importantly, your training over the years. So, salute to you, Terrence Bud Crawford, and salute to the team. There are certain people that, of course, I don't care too much for on that particular team, but the team as a whole, salute to y'all too. I definitely appreciate you guys having Terrence Bud Crawford ready for that particular fight, and being able to get him positioned to make that type of master masterful, I'm sorry, performance says a lot about the work that you all do. So shout outs to y'all for that. Now, what I would want to make sure that I address is the direction that each man should actually go in. Now, unfortunately, what I believe is best for Earl Spence, and this is only me speaking as a fan. I'm sure that Mr. Spence is not going to take this to heart because really I have no, I have no say so. But just me as a boxing fan, and my love for the sport and some of the men and women that actually are warriors in it, what I believe would be a better tactically sound game plan from this particular point on, especially since he has taken a loss like this. I would actually move up to 154. However, I would not, and again, I would not take a rematch with Terrence Bud Crawford. What I would probably say, oh, what up, Jared? Um, if you could, man, shoot, maybe I should text Coach 67 and let him know that I had to do, like, I had to set up another show, because the show that I actually had set up, it wasn't letting me do the camera, and I had to actually shut it off. Um, yeah, let me go ahead and make sure that I text Coach 67. Hang on, man. Um, shoot, need to let him know that no, it was 20 minutes into this daggone live, man. It just got going. You see, we already got like a hater that had dropped in, Jared. I was really surprised, man. I have a small YouTube channel and this asshole managed to find me. Like, what the fuck? Like, I guess this is the internet or whatever, man, but that is crazy to me. Like, I'm a small channel. I ain't nobody. Why you feel like you gotta come over here and start shit? Like, honestly. And most of these people, man, in person, yeah, thank you, brother, for letting me know, man. Um, but yeah, you see most of these people in person, man, they not shit. Um, they'll probably be all apologetic and, oh man, it's just the internet, man. I was just messing with you, man. You gotta have a better sense of humor than that. Nah, fuck that shit. Like, if you run up on, and I'm not indicating anything as to where I am like this, okay? But if you run up on some type of wild animal and start taunting it, what do you expect to happen? Like, they say don't poke the bear for a reason. Like, you don't want to do that. It's life changing, isn't it? It's just, boy, these people, or these characters on the internet, rather, they are really something, bro. But you're right, that is how it is, Jared. um Man, Hang on just a second here. All right, my bad. Well, yeah, man. Anyway, I was before you jumped in, Jared. I was just talking about the fight itself, how grateful I was for Earl putting the fight together, how grateful I was for the LDBC, even though they'll never get the real credit they deserve for putting the fight together and setting it in motion. I was mentioning how proud I was of both fighters. And I was also mentioning, my unyielding support for Earl Spence despite this major setback. I also had to address some of the assholes in main media, namely Kevin Iole and Dan Raphael, um, and just basically, beat their ass verbally. Um, with those guys, man, and they call themselves journalists, they just had no class last night at all, man. Asking them questions about them getting dominated and why they weren't able to come up with any adjustments and things of that nature. It was terrible. It really was. I just mentioned how Kevin Iole is really an unreliable source, and I just mentioned that Dan Raphael was a sloppy mayonnaise sandwich eating bastard who just has nothing else going for him in real life than to critique someone that actually has dedicated their life to their craft and simply wanting to be the best at what they actually do. It does say a lot about Dan Raphael, who has been criticizing these fighters or these great warriors over decades, okay, with an S. He's been doing this over 20 years that I know of, as far as just critiquing these gentlemen and ladies, and just not being held accountable for it at all. I I was scratching my head as to why people even try and listen or intake anything that they actually have to write or say. And then, of course, I briefly touched on, some YouTubers and shit like that, as far as just trying to make fun of Earl Spence's down, in ring demise and all of that. Um, but I was actually moving on to what each fighter should probably do moving forward, which is what I'm getting into right now. So, again, for Earl Spence, what I believe should happen for him is that he would need to go up to 154 pounds. He would also need to just fight maybe a bit lower level competition, um, especially after a devastating loss like that. You do not, and again, I know from what I've actually seen over the years, I know Earl's spirit. He does not want to um, do a lower level fight because he may lower himself to the competition, which is not good either. But I think at the same time, you are going to have to actually take a step back. You just literally got through fighting the very best in the era. It was not a performance to where if you maybe adjusted something small, the outcome could have been different. It was unfortunately, it was a complete and utter domination. And what you basically need to do once that happens is pretty much press the reset button. You go to 154, you fight good but not great competition, and then you build back up to someone like Terence Crawford. The adjustments that need to be made in order to even come close to beating Terence Crawford are major adjustments. And with those major adjustments, it takes time. It is not going to take one camp and then a weight change, and then all of a sudden you're all better and you can get back in there and beat Terence Crawford. It's just not realistically going to happen that way. Now, that's just my opinion. Once again, that's my disclaimer. That is just my opinion, but unfortunately, my outlook on the way things really work is you have to build back up to get to another level once something that devastating happens. It makes no sense to me to go back into a situation um, like that, and then expect a different result. Unfortunately, I think if Earl takes an immediate rematch, and I definitely hate to say this, but if he takes an immediate rematch, it is going to be worse. It is going to be much, much worse. I think that, and this is going to sound very brutal, but again, this is a very brutal sport. The best thing that I think that Crawford could do if Earl takes an immediate rematch is actually knock him out very quickly. If he gets in there and just if he gets in there and just knocks him out and disposes of Earl very quickly, I think that that would be the most merciful thing that you could do. You do not want to give someone like that another drubbing or another long-standing beating and further damage him. I think that if you can get him out quick, then that would be the route that you would actually go. I think that's the best and most merciful thing you can do as far as that type of matchup. I just think that excuse me. I just think that if Earl is to build his, if Earl is to actually fight Crawford again, he has to build back up. I don't think that there's any way around that. If something that devastating happens, you have to be able to know and understand that there is going to be a rebuilding process, and in that particular process, it's going to take time. It is probably going to take two, at least two, possibly three fights to kind of build back up to fighting Terence Crawford. Um, I do not think that it is a wise idea for Earl Spence to immediately rematch Terence Crawford. Now, as far as Terence Crawford goes, I do believe that if he moves up to 154, he should be able to just go ahead and fight Charlo or whomever may have the belt by the time he and Canelo get done fighting. Now, if it is a situation in which Jamal I think he can still retain his belts because they're fighting at 168. But if it's a situation to where the belts are somehow spread out, of course, I think Bud has the option of retrieving those belts and then becoming a three division undisputed champion, which I mean is which is unheard of for a male box. Well, almost unheard of for a male boxer. You got Henry Armstrong that basically achieved almost the same thing. He, I think, could have been a four weight undisputed champion, but I think there was a fight that he just narrowly lost, if I'm not mistaken about that. I do not like to, I'm not like one of those Google people. I like to just use my mind. Um, and I think that I've retained some or pretty functional knowledge of the art that I call boxing, which which I'm very passionate about and love dearly. But yeah, I think that if he is able to, then yeah, he should definitely fight for undisputed. If I'm sorry, Jamel. If Jamel is actually up for it after the Canelo fight, um, Now, what I will say is, him moving up to 168 and then him having to crunch back down to 154, I do not think that that is actually safe. I think that males should probably do, regardless of the result. Okay, if he beats Canelo, great. If he doesn't, then what I would probably recommend is just a gentle descent. And what I mean by that is him actually fighting at 160 his next fight, and then moving down gradually to 154 after that. I do not think that you just jump up to 168 and then your next fight is 154. I don't think that's actually healthy. I do understand that Jermell is a finely tuned athlete. Um, his conditioning is phenomenal. I get all of that. But when you lose weight, it literally takes a lot out of you. And if that particular weight cut, regardless, is going to be tough. Okay. But regardless, you just do not want to drastically go down in weight like that your next fight. I think a gradual descent is probably more appropriate for that situation to where you, okay, hey, I'm going to go ahead and fight at 168, but on my way back down, I'm going to stop at 160 and then I'm going to go back down to 154. I think that that is actually safer. And I do believe that that is more tactically sound as well. Um, now, as far as excuse me, now as far as upcoming fights, I do look forward to the Jermell Charlo and Canelo fight. um the Anthony Joshua and Dillian White fight that's actually going to take place in a couple of weeks. Okay. I don't, I don't too much particularly care for it, but you know, I definitely hope that Derrick James gets a win or a much needed win after this, particularly devastating loss. There's not going to be enough time to actually just kind of communicate back and forth with Earl. Uh, DJ did mention that he has to like go to London like immediately after this, and then get Anthony Joshua ready for his fight with Dillian White. And then, of course, he's going to have to bounce back down and then try to get Jermell ready for Canelo. So, his dance card is actually going to be full as well. Um, but I definitely, I definitely am excited about that particular matchup. And I really do, despite the results of this particular fight, feel great about the boxing year of 2023. Uh, to my knowledge, we started off with a great matchup between Caleb Plant and David Benavidez. We also got a more popular mainstream type fight with Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis. Then we got Devin Haney, Lomachenko, and then of course um, we got. Excuse me, I'm sorry. We um we had an undisputed fight in the women's division with Savannah Marshall and Franchon Cruz, and then of course there was a fight with Alicia. Whoa, no, I'm sorry. What am I doing? There was a fight with Clarissa Shields as well, which when she has an event or a fight, I try to be as supportive as I can, and just make sure that she on some level knows that that there are male supporters out here who genuinely want to see her do well in her career as well. So shout outs to the quote for that. um, but yeah, hopefully we do get a reward at the end of the year. I am disappointed though that Deontay Wilder will not be fighting Andy Ruiz. But I hopefully look forward to Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder fighting at the end of the year. Um, so that ought to cap out 2023 if if it goes according to schedule in the right way. I'm just very, very excited about the possibilities. Um, but I don't think that there was anything else left to discuss. I definitely appreciate my brother Jared O11 Green showing up. Coach 67, I'm so sorry, brother. I had to actually I had to actually take off the link. Well, not no, I'm sorry. I had to actually delete the original show that I actually had set up, and then I had to create another show because of the technical difficulties. But I definitely feel and appreciate your support, and thank you so much, man. Um, this is Brent Fox. It is just me. And to my LDBC family, my actual family, those that are in the chat, and anyone else who just happens to be looking and then decide to support, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching this, even if it's just for a minute or anything else like that. I certainly appreciate it. Again, this is a passion project of mine. It doesn't look like much right now, but I am going to just try to build to make this a better show. And, again, I definitely appreciate anyone who actually just views this particular show. Don't forget, again, you can comment, you can like, you can subscribe. If the comments, now, what I will say about the comments is this: I'm the type of person that will give you what you give me. So if you give me a bunch of bullshit in the comments, you're gonna get a bullshit response. I'm, I'm just letting you know. Okay, I'm not some street person or whatever that's going to kick in your door and all of that because you were disrespectful on the internet. But what I will say is that if you put a certain type of energy out there to me, I'm going to give you that energy back. Um, and with that being said, to the real ones, I definitely appreciate you. For those that came over here trying to start shit, um, you know, fuck you disrespectfully. You know what I mean? But on a lighter note, again, thank you for viewing. Thank you for liking. And hopefully, thank you for subscribing. This is just me. I'm Brent Fox. And now I am out.